Then if you're using your body as a product, then name the price. Am I right? But if you're using it as a divine thing, as something to be lauded and applauded, then there's another way to position the whole thing. So it all starts with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All true. That's so wonderful. Thank you.
And first I begin by applauding you for bringing up this subject and applauding everybody else who's participated. I'm a parenting educator and I come across a lot of this. But the work that I'm doing today, and for me is as important as child abuse which happens, is that each one of us has to look within ourselves. We may not be doing child abuse, but are we promoting pornography? Are we sending those kind of messages to each other? Are we, even as jokes, even as, even if it's not hardcore, even soft pornography, are we laughing at our fashion models or film stars, and in our language somehow demeaning women and using them as sex objects, even in family conversations I see, and families which are supposedly respectable families, and these conversations are so common. And are we like somehow, what are we doing to ourselves? We may not be molesting children, but we are all, part of this collective consciousness which gets created where we say that this is all right. So it's a much larger work, it's a much deeper work, and every one of us in some or the other way is contributing to this. It is not those few people, they are the monsters, yes, but each one of us somewhere is contributing to it. And there is a large debate which has to start, and I am part of it. So I'm so happy that you brought this here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Can I share something? So I live in Dubai. I'm originally from the US, but I live in Dubai and have for the last 18 years. When my daughter was 13, I became friendly with the PE teacher who was going to, she was going to be offering the health and sexuality unit when the kids were 13 at the school. And so I had, prior to that, started teaching courses to adults called Conscious and Sacred Sexuality in Dubai and Bahrain, and had a lot of Saudi students and many from the Gulf, and as well as Westerners, and as well as some Indians as well that live in Dubai. I have to name that. So I gave this talk, and I ended up talking to all these 13-year-olds, and I entitled the talk Conscious Sexuality and Emotionally Intelligent Sexuality. And so I was given an hour and a half with all the kids, and one of the exercises I did with them was to all practice saying no. I pretended that I was for the guys, honoring that there could have been homosexuality, but I said, and I named that, but I said, I'm going to do a heterosexual situation just for the sake. But so I, for the guys, I pretended I was a girl, and I said, I want to kiss you. And then they all had to say to me, no, that's not where I'm at. And then with all the girls, I pretended I was a guy, and I took on the persona of a guy, and hey, I want to kiss you. And then every girl had to go around and say, no, that's not where I'm at. And it was amazing, and really did a lot of work with them of getting into their power centers. And then there were some afterwards I could tell had an extremely hard time. And anyway, a lot happened in that hour and a half with each of the classes. All the kids were 13. And when they were 18, one of the girls had been, they all had been at a party, and it was right, school was just starting. It was their last year of high school. And one of the girls, they all had been drinking, they all had a lot of alcohol. And one of the girls was definitely molested by two of the guys together at the same time. She came to me and said, I don't know what to do, and this is what's happened. And I said, I know who the guys are. They've been friends in your community. I'm willing to hold kind of like what would be in traditional villages, like a tribal meeting. If you go to the school, she goes, I don't want to go to the school because all these kids are now about to start applying to universities. They're all going to take their SATs if they go to the US or wherever. And I don't want to jeopardize their careers. But I also feel like I need rectification here. And so we did. We had a meeting. And a lot happened in that meeting, and I won't go in those details. But the fact that there was dialogue, the fact that they came to me 5 years later, and the fact that they trusted me to even have such a meeting, no, not, yeah, it was, no, let's see, it was 6 months later, so that was the September. In March, I get a phone call from one of the guys who had been apparently one of the witnesses to, like, the guys had brought him in, no, tell that we didn't do this. And anyway, it was a long thing. He called me, he got my phone number from my daughter and didn't tell my daughter why I wanted my number. And his girlfriend had just been raped by her uncle. And she had confided to him last night, my uncle came in drunk and he raped me. And she said, I will not tell my mother because it's just in my culture, in the traditional culture, it'll be put on me that I did something. I come from such a traditional Arab family that this is just not an option to tell my family that this has happened. And I'm too devastated that they're not going to defend me. And so I ended up, I'm a counselor, and I ended up giving her free counseling for a few times. And it's wild, the story. And so then, okay, at my daughter's school, they have a tradition called red letters. And you send letters at the end of the year from family members and family friends to the graduating student. It's like a secret thing. And then they get all these letters on the last day. We have a luncheon for them. And so, like, the parents are in charge of collecting these letters all year long, from the relatives, from the family friends, to give to the graduating student as like a, this is your rite of passage, you're going and who you are, and we love you and your talents and all this. So I had sent her a red letter, and telling her how proud I was of her for graduating, for having gotten to an excellent university in the United States, for having, been raped and gone through what she'd gone through, for having done the counseling, for having done what she had done, and to get to where she was and succeed in getting through that last year, both succeed emotionally in terms of really respecting herself emotionally, but also succeed in the outer world. Well, lo and behold, so summer comes and she, she's on a summer trip with her girlfriends, and her mother was cleaning her room, and she saw the letters, and she saw my letter. And she knows me through the school as one of the class moms. There were 150 kids or something in the school, in that class. So we all didn't know each other, the moms. She found the letter and was blown away. Had no idea who had raped her, and she contacted her daughter, and in a very kind way said, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to have intruded on your privacy, but I found this, and I just was called to read it, and I wondered why Cynthia was writing you. Like, what's this mom who doesn't even know our family that well writing you?" And so then her daughter confessed, and who it was, and everything. They found out that that the same exact thing had happened in their family. That mother and her sister had been sexually abused by their uncle, and she had never told her daughter. And she said, and they had never told the parents for the same reason. And she said, "The cycle has to stop here, honey. I am so sorry. I am going to take action to our brother." It was her brother that had done this. And yes, he's an alcoholic. Yes, he has unemployment issues. Yes, all these things, and it's still not an excuse. And I know you were scared, and I was scared too, and the cycle stops here. And then she contacted me and said, "Can I come by? I just want to have a chat with you." And I thought, something, she knows, like, what? I didn't know any of this. And I had some fear because the daughter had been so scared. So I didn't know the background story yet. I just knew the daughter was never going to tell the mother. So all I get is this woman calling me, like, "Can I have a chat with you in person?" I'm like, "Okay, what's going to come?" And then she told me the whole story, and we cried together, and we just had this most amazing thing. So I tell you all of this because that moment when I reached to those kids, now, yes, I'm in the profession. Yes, I, was qualified to come in and give this kind of a training for an hour and a half to the kids. But even if it had happened in, just amongst, and I guess just feeling touched that you are all here today, and we're all having this conversation, and your extraordinary courage and professionalism and all that you have, exposed us to in the way you did. Do you know, if whatever opportunity comes to gather children or say these things or just speak out 5 years later, and I remember saying, "God, thank God I was here those 5 years later." Dubai is so transient. The fact that I still was living in that city and was able to serve these kids in the way that just happened to be. So I just felt inspired to really share this story. So thank you. Thank you.
An instance where there was a girl. She was studying. She was a very intelligent girl. She was, she was sexually abused. Thereafter, they don't have much money with them. She wanted to be a doctor. No, nobody was paying her money. She wanted to do a job. So what she did is, as a profession, she was become, you see, with a short time of 1 hour, 2 hours, she's making a lot of money. And she said, a lot of money I can make it with lesser time. And she started studying. She became a doctor thereafter. She became a very, I mean, important and a very acclaimed lady subsequently. But now she speaks of it, that if I would have not done this, if this becomes a blessing in disguise in me, so I did it. It is a bad thing, I know, but I control my mind. And I did it for money. It was a quick money. And I could, otherwise, I would not be able to study and spend time if I start earning with a longer period of time. How? How it is, sometimes it looks to be bad. It looks to be very, very bad, but society doesn't permit it. How do you see these subjects?
I think that's really difficult. I would just say that I can't speak for her and what her own individual choices are, and we do have our agency, and she has her agency to choose if that's how she decides to learn and earn a living, and she decides to put herself through school. That's not my morals, that's not my values. I'm not okay for that. I still think there's a price that's paid. Um, and I think that it's not okay, but that's my opinion, and I honor her and respect her as her own person to make her own choices. And so I think prostitution's a whole nother topic, but that when it comes to child abuse and it comes to agency and having a choice and trafficking where another human being is forced to do something against their will, to me, that is what we're talking, that's what we have to focus on and what we do have control over. But for those that have their agency, we have to honor them and just allow them to, without judgment, to make their own decisions for themselves. And there will be those anomalies, and that's okay. And I'm sure it was. I have no doubt, because I think that it does take a toll on us as human beings. But we will honor her in her own choices, and for me, it's giving a voice to those that don't have a voice, and it's abolishing what I consider to be modern day slavery, and that's what we need to eliminate, and that's where, at least the place that I'm coming from today, and that we defend our children. So thank you everyone for coming, and I appreciate all of your comments. You're amazing.
Thank you, ma'am, for this very heart-touching topic.